All right, this video will cover how to complete the tracing practice, shape building and tracing practice in week 4-5 of graphic design in spring 2023. We're looking at session 2, shape building, week 4-5. So I'm going to go ahead and how you start is going to that week, you're going to see session 2, you're going to click on that, and you should have already downloaded all 4 of these files. We'll be using about 3 of them. So those should be downloaded. You'll also find in here that there is a PDF, and if you view the PDF, it will show you how you can create a template, which is what we're going to learn to do in here. And if you ever wanted to do it again, then you would have this to kind of help you out. Now, when you look at it, it's from the standpoint of printing, so you can change that, it's no big deal. You could change that to art and illustration or whatever other profile you want to use. The bottom line is that what you're using to trace will be brought in as file place, not file open. Okay, and that's going to be the difference. So this could all change, but right here on step 3, that's probably the most important, and everything from then on. Okay. So I have already downloaded all 4 of these. There's also an instruction sheet just to kind of explain what it is that you're doing with these. So just to show you, it's right here. Schoology doesn't do a good job of showing things, so I'm just highlighting some stuff. So this is linked to a Google Doc, and it will explain where the concept comes from. Explore rotoscoping and what that's about and how it actually relates to animation. It's an animation technique, but it starts with tracing. And so we're going to go through a series of files here, with particular challenges where, for instance, the Android, we're going to build that with only rounded rectangles. We're going to recreate the Twitter bird with, excuse me, only the pen tool, only the pen tool, and the Batman logo using only ovals. Later on, the challenger and possibly a 5th exercise will kind of get closer to what rotoscoping actually is so that we can prepare you for that. All right. This is how, of course, the files will be submitted. So we will want to return to this so that we can find out how this will be submitted. All right. All right. Like I said, I've already downloaded these. And remember, when you download, hopefully you went to settings in your browser and you changed how you download. You want the browser to ask you where to save. So just clicking this, turning it on is a good idea. When you select the image, make sure you're using download image right here instead of right clicking. Make sure you're using this instead. All right, I have this in my folder, so let me navigate to that. All right, I don't want to use this. I want to use the actual folder. This is my desktop. Illustration is where it was saved, and there they are. There's the Android. Challenger. Check, check, 1, 2. Oh, something's going on with my mic. All right, I'm going to go ahead and now open these in Illustrator. Sorry, I had a little bit of technical difficulty. That's why I paused. And I'm just going to go ahead and do it, I guess, the old school way. I like to just kind of drag and drop my stuff, but let's go ahead and just use the old school way. Open. This is what they're going to test you on in the certification, so, might as well follow that. Navigate to my folder, illustration, and the first one that I'm opening is the Android. Now, I shouldn't be opening that. Sorry, I made a mistake. We're going to go to File and New. My bad. got ahead of myself there. I just said don't, we're going to place it, and I went to file open, made that mistake. So what we're doing here, we could follow what's on that instruction sheet, and it does say go to print. Remember, I said, it kind of doesn't really matter. In this case, we don't know what we're going to do with it, so art and illustration is the profile that's best. You should already have set your, or could have set your artboard to 1280 by 1024. Naming it is always a good idea, and according to the instructions there, we're going to name this exercise 1 underscore, or no underscore, it's up to you, your last name. Okay, so go ahead and put your last name there. We've got 1280 over 1024. That's the preset we chose, but we want to have that in pixels, so let's change that. We only need one artboard, and I think it's fine with a landscape orientation. So check out all that off. You have art and illustration, 1280, 1024, and then the pixels, 1280 over 1024 as well. One artboard. Go ahead and hit create. All right, so like I said, I was jumping ahead and I was already putting or trying to open up the Android files. I shouldn't have tried to do that. So instead, we've created an artboard to start with. And before we get started, let's make sure our interface is set up. We want to go to Window, Workspace, and I think it's probably best that we all just use Essential Classic for this one. That way we're going to the same things. And even though you select the workspace, you should reset it just in case. So reset it, make sure everything's all where it needs to be. We're going to have a couple extra artboards over here, but more is less. All right, so now working in this vector program now is a good opportunity to bring in any pixel-based or bitmap images because pretty much that's what everything else is. So we're going to go to File, Place. We're going to navigate to our folder. It's on our desktop. And within our project folder, we're going to find that Android file, exercise1, and we're going to select it once. We're not going to double click. We're going to select it once because we want to take a moment to set it up. Right here is where we're connecting to its location. That means that this project file is connected to it. If something happens to this, then you will no longer see it in your project file. Template, it's what is doing something different. Template is going to allow it to come in as something we can trace. So select template, very important, and then we're going to hit place. And as you can see, it puts the Android right on our artboard. And let's zoom out, Control minus. We're going to go over to the Layers panel. Let's take a look. In the Layers panel, we see that this is different. This layer is different. The title is italicized. The visibility is not an eye anymore. It's actually a rectangle. It's already locked. All right, what's going on here? So it is in a template mode, but let's just say you forgot, you forgot to put something in a template before, starting, and maybe it's a picture you found and you're in the middle of a project and you just have this image that you want to trace some part of it, you know. What you could do is you could just bring it in and place it, drop it onto your artboard. Right over here in the layers, you can actually access the layer options either by selecting the layer and going to the menu and going to layer options or options right here. Or you can just double click right here in this little space. And while you're in here, take a look. This is where the name came from. This is the color assigned to the layer. And this is the reason why it's a template. This is also why it's dim or less opaque. It's 50%. So you could change those, or you can actually change any layer into a template just by checking this box. All right. Now we're going to temporarily unlock this because it doesn't fit our artboard. So we want to use what we know, Shift and Alt, and resize it so that it fits just what your tracing needs to fit. It doesn't matter if it goes off the edge as long as your subject is on the artboard. And I'm just going to lock that back. So the second layer that we have is layer one usually, or some other layer, or any other layers that you have. And you usually want to have one of these available. I'm going to call this trace. So we need another layer because that's the layer that we're actually going to draw on. Okay, trace. We'll just call it trace. Now you could really organize this. You could say trace arm, trace leg, trace head, and then you could have those different body parts separated onto layers so you can edit them. Okay, but you know that Illustrator will create sublayers within, so it's an option. Okay, you want to make sure you're on this trace layer before we begin, and you want to make sure that your template layer is locked. I'm going to hit Control 0 and zoom in. And the challenge is to use rounded rectangle. So I'm going to go over to my toolbar and find the rounded rectangle tool. It's in there with the rest of the tools. When I select it, sorry, my dog is making a mess over there. Um, I'm going to be able to click and drag and show you guys how I'm going to get that. Oh, you kind of already see it. Look at that. So we got lucky. But let me go ahead and make it a little bit larger so you see what's going on. So basically, because it was that shape, it just took on this kind of pill shape, which is kind of the arm. And, you know, it's really just all four corners kind of coming together and forming that rounded end on either side. Okay. But how did I get there? Let's see. Well, when I click and drag, maybe yours doesn't look like mine, but pay attention to the little gray box that's with my cursor. All right. I'm going to hit the up arrow on my keyboard. Watch that R setting change. You see it going up there? So right now, the radius of all four corners is changing. Okay. And when I hit down, it decreases and it gets sharper. When I hit up, it increases. So that's what we kind of want to do here. We want to increase and you'll get that shape. All right. Now I'm going to guesstimate there what that is. And then I got a little lucky there. I'm going to go ahead and resize it to fit right there. There you go. So there's my first arm made from a rounded rectangle. So I used the up and down keys on the keyboard while I was dragging and making that rounded rectangle. Now I can really cheat here and go ahead and make 3 more copies because the legs and the other arm look the same. So I'm going to copy it, go over there, copy it again, right there, and copy it a third time right there. All right, the arms and legs are done. Now what about this body? Well, I'm going to take that same tool and I'll recommend, you know, left or right, maybe just starting a little bit outside of the corner here because it's the only round corner. I'm going to show you how we're going to get that corner right there. But I'm going to start right about here, I think, and click and drag, and that should allow it to be right in the middle. If not, then we can adjust that a little bit, but right about there. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to hold, so don't let go. If you let go, then try to do it again. Now I'm going to increase the radius. That means I'm holding the up. Oh, sorry. I want to hold down. Sorry. Down, decrease. I think it was somewhere around, I've done this so many times, probably around 60. So we got to wait quite a little while here. If yours was already low, then good for you. See that? Now it's filling in. Now, is that good? Let's drop it down a little bit more. I said around 60. It might still be. I think that that matches up. I'm looking at the bottom right corner. I think that matches up pretty well. All right. And now I'll switch to my select tool and just do a little bit of resizing here. Maybe bring that side in just a little bit. You know, you're probably like, well, how can you see? Well, guess what? You can go to your toolbar, and at the bottom is your fill and stroke. And what you can do is turn off the fill for a second, select it, make sure it's the fill's on top, and then hit none. And now you have just the stroke left. So I'm going to enable that by selecting it. And I can maybe, you know, bring up the weight a little bit so I can see it better. But now this gives me a better idea of where I am. All right, I just got to remember to fill it with color again. Now I would like this to be a little bit higher. Go ahead and bring that up because I want to go ahead and do this a familiar way until we really get comfortable with the direct select tool. Let's just use what we know. I'm going to build this shape by using a rectangle and what I know about Pathfinder. So I'm just going to put a rectangle over it, and I'm leaving everything as just a stroke line so you can see what I'm doing here. I took this shape and I put it over the area that I want to remove, and it is on top of this. Okay, so I'm going to let Illustrator know what's involved here. I'm going to hold Shift and select both shapes. Right now the rectangle's already selected, so I'm going to hold Shift and select that. And the objective here, folks, we're trying to build the body. So I've matched the bottom corners, but now I want to cut the top off so that I can create that cut off look that you see there. All right, let me do a quick check for where Scott is. She could be over there doing all sorts of stuff while this is going on. Slight intermission. You're so sneaky. All right, here we go. I'm gonna go to my properties panel. That's always the easy bet there. And check it out. Because Illustrator recognizes what I'm doing, it's going to give you the Pathfinder option. So I'm going to hit minus front because that rectangle's on top, and it's going to be subtracted from what it's on top of, and that is the body. So there we go. All right. I'll go ahead and fill that with color. I'll just use white, make sure that it's for the fill. So I'll turn the fill on. I'll fill it with white. There we go. And I'll drop that stroke back down to 1 so it looks like the rest. Okay. Now, the head. I'm going to go ahead and actually try this with the rounded rectangle still. So go ahead and actually, let me do that again. Control Z, Control and Z. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to keep holding it. I'm going to hold up because I want this to be completely round. And I want it to be the same width as the head. Okay. So look at my radius. I got it all the way up to 430. And I'm going to leave it like that and let go. And let's see if we can't match that up. Ah, is it close? Yes, somewhat close. We're going to have to widen this just a little bit. Okay, just a little bit. And I'll put the stroke on so you guys can see. There you go. So there you go. There's the fit. Now we can go ahead and cut this shape. Okay, I think is the best bet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again. Now, yeah, I guess I'll leave this here. And in my layers, a little bit of layer management here. I think the best thing to do is to lock and protect the body and all 4 limbs. Okay, so I'm just going to lock those. That way I can build. And I'm going to use another rectangle, put it over top, and I'm not worried about putting it over everything else because remember, those things are locked. Shift, oops, make sure it covers it. There you go, make sure it covers. So right now, what's involved is the circle or rounded rectangle and this rectangle here. And as long as that rectangle's on top, if I do minus front, there's my result. Okay. And the next one will be the eyes. So let me bring back this color here, and I'll make this a different color at this point. Make sure the fill is on. Let's make it red. Okay. And the eyes, just two circles, you know. Actually, let me turn that back off and get the ellipse tool. I'm not going to use the rounded rectangle for that. I mean, that's too much. Shift and Alt gives me a perfect circle, so I'm just going to try to match that. And I can use my arrow keys, not always my select tool, to nudge things into place. And then I can use Alt to copy it. I selected the stroke when I copied if you're having trouble. You can only select things that exist. If there's no fill, then there's nothing to select in the middle. Remember that. Okay. Now again, even though these are not filled with color, they still are shapes which can be subtracted from this shape above. So if I select all three, I can go to Pathfinder again and minus front, and now they are cut out. As you can see, it is now a new shape with holes in it. All right, last part is the antenna. I'm going to zoom in, and here's a little trick. This one actually isn't the rounded rectangle. We're actually going to use the line segment tool, so it's right here underneath or next to the type tool. And when you find it, go ahead and choose it, and it's a tool that you can click and drag. So I'm just going to make a line right here. Go ahead and extend that right into the head there. Now, this line is now going to have some increased weight to it because it's going to become our antenna. So we're going to increase that weight. I think it's like 15. Let's see, 15 will work. Yeah, that usually works pretty well. It's pretty easy to maneuver. You can go to the anchor point right there, and as long as you see the rotate symbol, you can kind of rotate it into place. Now the problem is that this end is cut off. How's that going to look like the antenna if it's cut off like that? Well, we can change that. Keep it selected. Make sure the weight is up to 15 or 16. And what we're going to do is go to this, the quickest way to do is go to this word stroke right here in the properties panel, or the options bar, sorry. Right up here in this left corner. I'm going to click on stroke, and I'm just going to change the cap to round cap. Okay. And now look what it does to the path, because a line segment is a path. It changes the endpoints of it. We're getting closer. All right, now we're going to turn it into a shape because the path can't be connected or united with a shape. They're two different things. So what we're going to do is turn it into a shape by going to object, because it's an object. And down here, this right here, or even expand appearance, one or the other will be available. They pretty much do the same thing. What it's going to do is it's going to expand or turn a path into, all right, a shape. If you use this on a bitmap image that's been recently converted, it will actually do something kind of different. It will turn the different colors of your image into shapes. Either way, you end up with a shape. So I'm going to hit expand. Usually 9 times out of 10, fill and stroke is your intent, so just leave those on and hit OK. So now look at the difference. Illustrator gives it a bounding box. There's no longer a spline or line in the middle of it. In fact, path is on the outer edge, not in the center. So it is indeed a shape. I'm going to copy that. Okay. Rotate it into place. Okay. And now that it's rotated into place, and these are indeed shapes, I can select the head and the antenna and through Pathfinder, unite them. Turn black because they had color, but you can change it to whatever you want. Maybe this is a mask, maybe this is Batman. All right. So I will zoom out and I can now color these after I unlock them as my new Android. So why would we start in this, why would you trace over something? Some clients actually want you to refresh their old logos and just kind of, you know, you know, renew them, so to speak. Make sure that they're, sharp and legit and ready for the newer formats such as online, because maybe those businesses have been around so long that they have only got a print version of it and they no longer have a digital version, and so that's your job, is to recreate. Or you're using this to learn to draw. Maybe you want to use the brush tool and try your hand at drawing and tracing things. This is a very, very useful feature, and so we're going to go ahead and explore this in the next two exercises, and see what those challenges are like. But have fun with your new Android, and you might want to go ahead and unite the legs there and the body. There you go. Now we're good. All right, and I think actually what I'm going to do is give mine some pants. All right, little arms, and there we go. All right, have fun with it. Make sure that you save this, and at the end of this series, you'll be converting it into a PDF. So wait for that instruction or read the instructions for how to do that. Till next time, all right, exercise 1.